I'm going to give you a very quick introduction to SpagoBI, to the novelties of the SpagoBI 5, and then describe our social network analysis, also with a real-time demo. So, we can start. SpagoBI is part of an engineering group. Engineering group is the leading IT actor in Italy on the software and services segment. The group counts more than 7,300 employees and 40 sites in Italy, Belgium, Argentina, Brazil, and USA, and Republic of Serbia. In particular, the Technical Innovation and Research division counts more than 1,500 researchers and technologists, and includes the SpagoBI labs, which fully manage the open source SpagoBI project. So, what is SpagoBI? What are SpagoBI differentiators? So SpagoBI is open source, completely open source business intelligence suite, developed and managed by SpagoBI Labs of Engineering Group, as said before. Is open source because it is released under a weak copyleft license, compliant to MPL2, Mozilla Public License 2, which allows its commercial use and its embedding in other products, both proprietary and open source. This means that SpagoBI is open source, but if you want to integrate SpagoBI in a commercial product, that it's okay. These foster the development of various business models with this ecosystem. So, SpagoBI adopts this open source model, which eliminates any licensing cost, separating the rights to use, modify, distribute the software from the sale of support services, avoiding both software lock-in, so there is no customer obligation to buy anything, and vendor lock-in, so the right to buy services from any provider. SpagoBI is a complete and flexible BI suite because it covers the whole range of analytical needs, supporting developer, tester, and administrator, offering a modular architecture. So, how this architecture is structured? The SpagoBI architecture relies on 5 main modules. We have the server. SpagoBI server is the core of the suite where all the analytical functionalities are provided. This is the reference environment for the final user and the administrator. Then we have the meta and the studio. The meta is the environment to create and manage metadata models, which represent a data domain and abstract from the underlying data structures. This module is dedicated to BI developers and data owners. The SpagoBI Studio is the environment to develop all kinds of analysis, which are then made available to the final users. So here you can develop reports and all charts and so on, for instance. Also, this module is also dedicated to BI developers and offer a visual environment for the creation of these analytical documents and all the functionalities to release them on the server. Then you have the SDK, which is a set of API compliant to the SOA architecture, allowing external applications to interact with the SpagoBI server and its metadata, and also allowing the interaction between the SpagoBI Studio and Meta with the server. Then you have the SpagoBI application, so the vertical analytics, which are a set of analytical models ready to use on specific application domains, for instance, SpagoBI for quality, SpagoBI for healthcare, and so on. This is the general picture of the architecture. Let's move to the analytical scope, the analytical document, the analytical functionality of SpagoBI. We can divide them into 4 main areas. The ready-to-use area is where you can find all the analysis ready to use for the final user, so prepared by some IT or administrator or technical user, and then release to the final user. For instance, the traditional BI reports, charts, interactive cockpits, KPI, key performance indicators, and all mobile reports like charts, table, and dashboards. Then you can find we can identify the build by yourself area. which is where the final user can perform his own analysis with his own data all by himself without the need of any IT support. And here you can find the ad hoc reporting, the self-service, BI, and the new in-memory cockpit. Then there is the explorative area where the final user can investigate his data with a more sophisticated way, for instance using the OLAP cube. And in this OLAP in the 5 version, we have the new OLAP cube developed by us with the new interface, and for instance the visual inquiring. Then last but not least, the advanced analytics area, where you can find all the more advanced features, the more advanced analysis that you can perform on data. For instance, the location intelligence, real-time console, the data mining with the integration of R since the 5 version, network analysis, the what if, which is another new feature of the SpagoBI, and the social listening that we are going to exploit in this webinar. Moving further, obviously, big data. SpagoBI deals with big data, and it's very interested in big data in order to extract knowledge and value from large volumes of heterogeneous data. Data sources can be very different and ranges from databases and appliances, for instance, Teradata, Vectorwise, NetData, but not only, also to NoSQL databases like Hive, OrientDB, MongoDB, or HDFS, so standard and non-standard data sources, where you can then use and perform your analysis on. Then, data mining. In 5 version, we have the integration of R into SpagoBI, so that also the final user, but not only the final user, can perform advanced data analysis in order to extract knowledge from data and also to improve the decision making and the business strategies. The integration of R allows to use new resources for the big data analysis and to use new advanced visualization for anyone. These are just some examples of new visualization that can be used. Maybe these are produced by some data scientists or by some technical user. Then, again, here we have the what if. What is the what if? It's based on the OLAP model. This is the interface of the new OLAP, and it allows the final user to simulate scenarios and predict the effects of potential changes in the business strategies through this specific tool, which enables instant insights at different detail level. As you can see, you can click on a cell and edit its value using a meta language, and this modification propagates all over the cube, up to the leaf and root, and you are able to simulate and to manage different versions, so different scenarios, compare them and share them, for instance, with other users or with the managers. Then the self-service BI, what means that the final user can perform his analysis not only on certified enterprise dataset or data, but also on private and unstructured data contained in his CSV or XLS file. And then he can also build this composed document. This is the new in-memory cockpit, which allows the final user to define and build a composite document with different widgets. You see there are many different kinds of widgets that are created with a very simple graphical interfaces and that can rely on different data source and different data sets. These allow a federation of the data. This is very important because every single widget can pick up its data from different datasets, and then you can correlate the different chart and table with an associative logic between all the different datasets. And last but not least, the social listening engine. Here, our social network analysis, our social listening engine, allows the user to extract and analyze information on people's attitudes, interests, and opinion through this specific tool that allows also the sentiment analysis and the campaign evaluation. You see here the idea is to be able to hear what people are saying, to be able to understand these words and the thing that people are saying, and then last but not least again to be able to visualize and to render this information. How this work? Let's start. I'll start with the slide, but then I will show you also real time with the demo on the SpagoBI 5. This is the starting point. This is where you decide your monitoring, where you schedule your research on Twitter. For now, you see here you can find different social network, but for the moment Twitter is the only one allowed, but in the future there will be also the others and not only these three. The typical example is a campaign that you are performing and you want to monitor this campaign or the evaluation of this campaign. So what you can do, you can decide among two different type of research of tweets. You can decide to perform an online monitoring or an historical monitoring. This means that you are downloading tweets starting from some days ago, and these two different type of research depends on the Twitter's API. So here are integrated only the free version of this Twitter API. That means that there are some limitation on the amount of tweet that you are downloading if you decide for the online monitoring, and there is a limitation on the day that you can choose here. For instance, you can go back up to 5 or 6 days, but if you want to recover more tweets, it's enough to pay, as to say. Here you decide the name of your campaign, of your research, sorry. It's just a logical identifier of the research you're scheduling. Then in this space you define the keywords that you are searching on. It can be one or more. And then there is this second part where you can decide or plan monitoring on accounts and resources. You can see here, for instance, if I am performing a campaign, I would like to know if the follower of my account or of the account of my company receives more follower or more interest. Or in a similar way, I would like to know if my website receives more visits during my campaign. And here I'm using this shortened version of the URL because in this way I know if the clicks that my website is receiving are coming from the shortened version of the link that I've used in my campaign in Twitter or from other sources. This possibility that here is left empty is the possibility to relate a SpagoBI document with this schedulation, with this campaign. For instance, let's suppose that I have a document, a report on sales, and I want to see if in this period during my campaign the sales are actually increasing. So I can schedule the execution of this report together with the monitoring of the accounts and the resources. And as you can see, you can define different time windows for this monitoring, and the first one where you decided the window time for the download of the tweet. This makes sense because usually if you are performing a campaign this week, the effects of this campaign could be visible the next week, not this one, but somehow later. So this is just the starting point, and then we can see the output that we get. This is the summary part, so very aggregate information, very basic statistics on the tweets and the users related to our research. This is on the time scale that we have decided for the monitoring, and then a very aggregate information about, for instance, the sources of the tweet, if they are from mobile or not, an overview of the most recent tweets and the top tweets. Then we can have a look at the topics, so what people are talking about. On the left there is the easy part, so here is a very easy hashtags cloud, so word cloud of the most often used hashtags. It's just a count. While on the right there is a more difficult part, it's a cloud of the topics. These topics are retrieved with the algorithm implemented using R, and it could be interesting to see both, so hashtags and topics, because not always the hashtag represents exactly the topics. I could use hashtag, for instance, to refer to something or to somebody, so it could be interesting to compare them. Then a different look on our data, so this is a network, this is the network tab, and here you can see, for instance, the top influencer in the network, in the tweets that you have downloaded, so in the topic that you are interested on, and the most mentioned user or pages. Then you have a user interactions graph where you can see how these users are interacting with each other, and also how they are distributed along the world, so how these interactions are distributed, which is the strongest interaction or the weaker. Then you can have a flat view of your distribution. Here you can see all over the world where the tweets are coming from, so which is, for instance, the country most interested in the keywords that you have decided at the beginning, and where they are talking about these keywords, they are using them in a flat way. Then this is the sentiment part, so it's a sentiment analysis on the tweets that you have downloaded, and you can see here there is the very top, the very aggregate information, so very summary on the percentage of tweets positive, neutral and negative, and then you have a drill down by topic, so you can see that, for instance, when people are happy they are talking about these and these topics, while when they are not happy they are talking about these other topics, and similar way for the neutral topics. And another way to look into this is this sentiment radar, where you can see on the outer circle there are the topics, and then the colored area are represented by the sentiment. So these topics are very interesting and people are very happy about them, while, for instance, this one is very negative. This is the impact view. This is related to the monitoring of the accounts and the resources decided in the beginning. So here you can see basically if the number of followers of the accounts that you've decided to monitor has increased or not. And in a similar way you can check if your website or the resources that you have decided to monitor have received more clicks or less clicks during your campaign. And that is an example of the SpagoBI documents related and correlated with our campaign. That could be just an example of sales, for instance, along during time, and I want to execute this document together in the same window time of my campaign, just to check if, for instance, the sales are actually increasing or not. This is just the overview of our SpagoBI social network analysis. And before switching to the demo, I will just conclude this first presentation recalling that obviously SpagoBI is a complete product, and then we also deliver services like user support, technical support, maintenance for bug fixing, consulting and development by a catalog or personalized, sorry, for training personalized or by catalog, I mean. Then webinar like this one and tutorial, and also detailed documentation like the wiki or our book. Then before switching to the demo, do you have any question or doubt or something like that? If there are no questions, I would like just to ask you kindly if you can answer to this very simple question. It's like it's a poll that we are performing. I will give you some minutes. So please, if you can just answer this very simple question, just to let us know if you are already using or not SpagoBI, or if we are willing to use it shortly. Okay, everyone has voted. Most of. Okay. So now we are going to switch to the demo. Oh. Okay. Now you should see the SpagoBI homepage. Here I am the final user. I am always the final user. This is just the homepage that some administrator has prepared for me, just a very static report. And here you can see there is this button that allows me to perform my analysis through the social network. And this kind of analysis, I want to say could be defined by myself or predefined, pre-scheduled by someone else. This is the starting point that we see before. So as you can see here, you can assign your search type, online monitoring, historical data, and you can decide to start from some day back, for instance. Then you define here the name of your campaign, your keywords. This is where you decide if you want to perform also the advanced analysis, so the R analysis. Which are the advanced analysis? Are the topic, word cloud that we see before, and the sentiment tab. Also the sentiment, I didn't say that before, is performed with a sentiment analysis algorithm written in R and run then on the tweets downloaded by this research. Then here you can decide the accounts to monitor, the resources, the impact, the documents, SpagoBI documents that you want to relate to this with this campaign, and the window time that you prefer. We see a predefined, we are going to see now, for instance, this scheduled research about the Dolomiti. And here you see you have two possibilities to button. You can delete or analyze, and this move you to the output of your analysis. So here we are. This is the first tab, the summary part, and you can, for instance, vary your time scale. Now here the window time is very short, so it's maybe not so relevant, but you could also move to hour, for instance, and see the trend. And if you want, you can zoom on one particular part. Then going below down here, there is the other part of the summary, so you can see how many of your downloaded tweets are really tweets and how many are retweets or replies or where they are coming from, mobile or iPad or other. Then you see the top tweets and the most recent tweets, recent regarding to the time window that you have decided at the beginning. Then here, that's the topic tab with the most used hashtags. As you can see here, there is no topic word cloud. There is only the hashtag word cloud because our analysis was not enabled for this kind of research. So you are free to decide if you want also the advanced analysis or not. Then the network tab. Here you can see, for instance, the top user or accounts or pages, the most mentioned user, and the top influencer of your network. And if you want to see how these users are interacting, here you have the user interaction graph that you can play with. And we can see that, for instance, regarding the community, we have very, how to say, discrete group of users that makes sense because not everyone who is talking about the community knows each other, obviously. And here you can see the distribution of this network, of this interaction all along the world. Then we move to the distribution tab where we can see the flat geographical distribution of our tweets. Here you can see the percentage of tweets that are used to plot this graph, because here I'm using the metadata of Twitter, and not every tweet has a metadata about location enabled. So here you see the percentage, and here you see the distribution, and as it could make sense, the top country for provenience of this tweet is Italy, obviously. Then there is the sentiment tab, but as I said before, the advanced R analysis was not enabled for this research, so in this case it's not enabled. But if you would perform also sentiment analysis, it would be sufficient to enable the R analysis at the beginning. And the impact here is not very interesting because I'm looking at a very few very sharp windows time, so there is no increase or decrease in the pages. But if one want to perform the analysis for a broader window of time, then this could make a lot more sense. And here you just go back to your homepage, your starting point, where you can define a new schedulation, or you can look at other different schedulation just defined by other user or by the administrator. So this is the overview of our social network analysis tool, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer. So any questions, any doubt? Okay, if there are no questions, I thank you very much for joining this webinar, and if you feel free to write to us at spagobi@eng.it for any further information or request. So thank you very much again. Bye.